experience the full power of the dark side.
Dark side of the Force is a pathway to many abilities some consider to be unnatural.
What's going on, everyone?
What's up? It's Wednesday.
Welcome back to another episode of the Sixcast Podcast, a Star Wars podcast where you pretty much talk anything and everything Star Wars. I'm your host, PJ the Paradox Nurse, alongside my co-host Sean Solo and sorry.
Take a breath. Take a breath. I told you, cocaine's a hell of a drug.
It is a hell of a drug. Yeah. So we figured we'd come on a little earlier than 9 o'clock, just because we do want to get to some of the Star Wars news that was just not just announced, but it was out for the past week. With Tom coming on, we want to focus on all the new announcements and releases from a Regal Robot. So when he hops on, we're gonna get a chance to get all the information that we been desiring for quite some time since the last time he was on.
It might not be Star Wars related, but it's still Regal Robot.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I always, pair up, Indiana Jones with Star Wars. So just because it came from the creator himself, Mr. Georgie Porgy Lucas. Tom just messaged me, said he's going to be hopping on in 10 to 15 minutes. So with that being said, let's get down to the nitty gritty. We'll save our bounty pickups for another time, but let's talk about Hot Toys. There's been some little drama in what's Hot Toys without any drama, right?
Well, yeah.
There's always a little bit of drama in the. Huh?
I don't think there's drama
in Hot Toys. Well,
what is that?
Maybe disconnected from the drama, which is good. But
listen, I'm 100% disconnected because I have not seen this yet.
Oh, really? This is.
I was on my buddy's show the other day, and there was no drama. We were just discussing about.
Look at that.
How they look.
Oh, okay. So anyway, long story short. So here's the drama. So the drama is you're getting a Bo-Katan 2.0.
I haven't seen.
So you got a rooted hair.
Wait.
So that kind of we kind of talked about this, right? This was coming, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, what would you say if you had the old Bo-Katan and now they release a rooted version?
Yeah, I wouldn't be happy. It's too soon.
It is too soon.
Yeah.
And the thing too is that basically I don't think they kind of did like what they did last year with Chrome Mando, right? Remember when
yeah,
dude,
yeah,
dude, I was so I still have it.
Which one? The Chrome? Did you buy the Chrome or are you talking the
old
old
one?
one?
I didn't buy the Chrome. I have the old
I have the old one too. I've never taken it out of the box. It's literally it's in my closet right here, brand new, never opened.
Yeah, I have mine. I have it all packed up, and to be honest, I don't even know what to do with that thing. I don't know if anyone wants to buy it.
I like the original Mando suit.
Yeah, I like the original Mando suit too, but it's just kind of unfortunate, right? Because when you buy something, it's like it kind of sucks. Like you buy something and then they release a better version. I don't know. I don't know, Neil. What's your thoughts about this announcement with IG-12?
I don't see anything wrong with it. There's collectors out there who like this stuff, and I just feel I don't know. I feel like there's like a huge divide in like the toy community, and I'm not a huge fan of. I think if people like to collect Hot Toys, they like to collect it. There's people out there who actually like these figures. I don't think Bo-Katan's hair looks great, but there's somebody out there who's going to want to buy it if they couldn't, get the other one if they wanted to.
But I think the other one's still available on Sideshow's website, right?
Possibly.
So,
But if
I mean,
somebody likes, if somebody likes that style of Bo-Katan, they're gonna buy it because they want to.
mhm,
If somebody thought that this scene was cute with, IG-12 having, the little baby inside of him, they're gonna want to buy
mhm,
it. I have 2 different Boba Fett's, and
yeah,
I bought them because it's one of my favorite characters.
yeah. So, and another tease is that like a lot of these accessories, and obviously, I think a lot of people are talking about it, is that uh basically all these accessories are only available like this one
So
with IG-12.
okay, so all right, I was thrown off for a minute. So this is not a new Mando. This is just the accessories you get with IG-12.
Well, it could possibly be a new Mando. You know how Hot Toys does. They kind of like, they're in it for the money, which like any other company. Um, so like if you have the heavy Mando, I guess if you want this
The
really
overheated
cool
gun. Yeah.
overheated gun, which is very iconic in that scene,
In
right?
the last days of Heavy.
Yeah, the last days of Heavy. You kind of have to buy. You're kind of forced to buy the IG-12. You know, the set.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
How's the sculpt on that?
and then you also get.
Bo-Katan?
It's the same one. It
Is
just has
it?
root. I think it's the same.
Looks different. Did the original one have a scar over her right eye?
I'm not sure.
I don't
I
think
don't know.
so.
I think that looks different. I think that's a different head sculpt, but
It is. I mean, to me, it looks the same. Obviously, these are just like anyway,
right.
but still, it looks like a new figure, a new portrait.
Yeah.
But still, like you have like people that probably bought the older version.
Yeah, and that's the thing with Hot Toys, though. You're not going to stop them. That's what they do.
Yeah, but it's kind of like almost like what's that build a figure like with the old Hasbro stuff? Like you kind of like have to collect certain things to kind of like complete your set.
Yeah.
I don't know, Sean. What's your thoughts on this release?
The IG-12. You know
Yeah,
my thoughts on that. He's sitting in the middle.
yeah,
Now, I actually like it with the Babu Frick.
I know. I love
Yeah.
the Babu Fricks.
I like them driving it versus I was not happy with the whole, let's give Grogu a way to talk and walk and
mhm.
like, it's just, we say it all the time. For me, it's just too much Grogu.
Yeah,
But I thought the idea of like, all right, let's put them together. And like I
Mhm.
said, if you would have had the Babu Frick person driving them the whole time
Mhm.
and try to take all the little silliness out of it. I mean,
Yeah,
that Babu Frick thing's cute, but
Mhm.
I don't know why. I think I'm just so overplayed with Grogu. I don't hate him, but it's just he's overplayed for me. And then
Mhm.
when he tries to be all cute and it's almost like he's such a baby, it drives me insane.
Yeah.
But but I mean, you take away Grogu, the figure looks cool.
It's basically IG-11, right?
And look at
Just
Hilda's like, shut up, Sean. I love Grogu.
yeah, but
And
it's
sometimes I
basically
feel like I'm in the wrong conversation. Like you guys hate Hot Toys so much, and I'm like, I think I should be in another channel.
I don't hate Hot Toys. I've got about 70 of them sitting around me.
yeah. No, I don't hate Hot Toys. I just hate sometimes like the things that they do, which
Well,
is this.
as a company, they rush things out. I feel like they rush things out and they do things that I don't think a lot of people want. I
Mhm.
mean, why can't you give us a Bespin Han Solo? You've teased it for 2 years.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
I think it's because they're probably having issues with what is it, with royalty rights or with with Harrison Ford with his face sculpt and everything.
yeah, I don't know.
I don't
He hates
know.
Star Wars, so he doesn't want nothing to do with it.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say is that like, hey, listen, let's just say I'm very happy I don't collect as much Hot Toys as I used to, because it's obviously I don't know, like I used to be able to keep up, right? But now I don't think I can because they also we're not going to really talk about it, but they released Crosshairs. So imagine you complete that set, and now they release the season 2 version of the Bad Batch. Like, what are you gonna do?
Their costumes are completely different.
Yeah, which is fine.
Yeah,
but
you can blame it on the person that redrew it in season 2 versus Hot Toys.
Like I know some people who are a fan of like season 1's, whole entire armor, how theirs was, and then there's other people that are like, oh, I like season 2's better. So I think sometimes they do this to try to move people to be like, oh, if these people didn't like season 1, they'll definitely buy season 2.
Yeah. Well, how about the Bo-Katan? Like, I mean, really not much difference besides the rooted hair and the shoulder pad, right? And we even called it too, right, Tron? Like, we knew. Yeah. It was like, oh, they just changed the pauldron. We're gonna get a new Bo-Katan.
Well, with this one, her cheekbones are more defined. So because I was looking at the first one that released. So this one, like I said, the cheekbones are more defined as opposed to the other one. She had more fuller.
Like the jaw was more defined in the other one, and this one.
I also think this also has to do with her when she was pregnant. So when they probably did the face sculpt on the first one, she was probably pregnant and her face looked more fuller. And then you see a drastic weight difference in her between the seasons.
Yeah.
And this last season, she looked more like she lost weight. You can tell she lost all her baby weight. Her face was more thinner.
Oh, really? So I thought she looked more like she was pregnant in some of this, especially when she was sitting in the throne, right? She was just kind of like.
I think because she was in this position. So
yeah, it was
like being a woman. Like, oh, my gut is sticking out now.
Yeah, but I was just gonna say that she probably was in that position. So I think she was pregnant and during that scene.
Probably.
But regardless, though, I mean, this is less than a year since, or how many months has it been since the first release by the Bo-Katan Hot Toys to now?
It's been a year.
I mean, but a year till we got the figure, right?
Yeah.
How many since when the actual figure got released to now this announcement? Like 5-6 months?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I'd say about 5 months.
I'm just saying because you know what? I got Chrome Mandoed before. So when I say Chrome Mandoed, like I remember, dude, I remember I got that set, deluxe set, and I did a review on it. I'm like, this is cool. And then like I think a month later, they released the Chrome version, and you're like, what on earth? Which is like the better version, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so I was just like, well, I mean, they're gonna do what they're gonna do, but I'm just kind of like, I'm glad that I'm out of the game because I can't keep up. Let's just put it that way. So. There's a lot of figures out there, and good for the people that still can collect.
But the figures are getting better, though. I mean, they look great.
These are Hot Toys, without a doubt. They're not putting out really poor quality.
No,
listen, I'll say this, even though we weren't going to talk about bounty pickups. Like for instance, me, I wasn't able to ever pick up the K2SO. So now that I got the Enforcer droid, it makes me happy that I have him because I basically kind of have my own K2SO.
Yeah.
So sometimes I don't mind like when they do re-releases like this because it's awesome because like we discussed the last time, for anybody who never got K2SO, now you have one.
Yep.
Okay, so I'll play devil's advocate here. Now, what happens is they actually release a 2.0 version because that's the KX Droid Enforcer, right?
Yeah.
But now they released the actual K2SO.
I'm going to buy another one because, to be quite honest with you, this thing was so magnificent. I'm actually pissed off at myself. And I even said it to Sean.
Yeah.
I should have bought more. I should have not bought one. I should have bought the 3 of them that were in that scene.
Yeah.
And then I could have had like Ryan Makes Diorama make like a whole fire scene in the background.
Nice.
Yeah. Wait, guys. I sense a disturbance in the force.
Master Skywalker, there are too many of them. What are we going to do?
I don't even know why I played that one. I was like trying to. I clicked on.
He's
the
like
wrong,
Tom kills younglings. Like what the
No.
hell?
I was just trying to. I picked the wrong one. I'm so sorry. But
I don't know
anyway,
what that means at all.
I know. What's up, Tom?
How
we
you doing,
got a
guys?
special
Good to see
guest
everybody.
tonight. Yes.
Yeah, man. Good.
We got-
Thanks for having me. Even
Yes.
with that intro, I'm
Right.
gonna call it.
The
I know-
Yeah,
strangest
I was like,
intro.
I was trying to.
It's
I
like
picked the wrong one.
Sithcast got really dark.
That's right. I mean, look, it's in the name, right?
It
Like,
is,
I should
it
have known
is.
that coming in.
Yes. But welcome
Oh,
back,
man.
Tom.
Yeah,
Thanks,
man.
It's
Yeah,
been
been a while.
it's been a while.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you have tons of updates for us, especially like a really new IP. Even though we're
Yeah.
a Star Wars channel, we do like to talk, other things that were created by the creator himself, George Lucas. So
That's right. He has some other things. Yeah.
A few things.
yeah,
Just a
besides
few,
Star Wars.
Just a few.
Yes.
I mean, Indiana Jones really is like just neck and neck with Star Wars.
Oh,
Right?
yeah,
Like, I
yeah.
mean,
Oh yeah.
I don't think I know anybody who's like an old school Star Wars fan who isn't also
Mhm.
like a diehard Indiana Jones fan.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's just I don't know whether it just all hit us at the right time or they're just both great. I mean, there's that too.
They're
But-
both great.
They're both great.
Yeah.
And it just, it was a very, really unique story, both of their stories, should I say. So that's why I think we gravitate towards those characters, to those movies, just because they were just very unique and one of a kind,
Well,
so
that was in a time where movies were original and good.
yes.
Now they're like, oh, let's rinse and repeat.
Oh
And-
wait,
and I
hold
feel
on.
like
Yeah.
Indy and especially certainly the original trilogy Star Wars are very self-contained and timeless.
Yes.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
And
yes.
and there's something about Indiana Jones, like if you saw that in 1981 and someone told you like, oh, we found this lost MGM movie from the 30s, and just like turn it black and white and like have people run it again, would you almost believe it? It's like,
yeah.
maybe if they were talking a little faster and they had higher trousers,
That's
but
it.
otherwise, like it is so like just true to that era, and it feels like it's like they shot it the way it would have been shot, and that's not really 100% true because Spielberg really has a style, but
Yeah.
they didn't overdo the modern elements in that movie. They were very, very good about not modernizing how they treated it, not even just what the subject matter was, but how they shot it, how they acted it, how they blocked everything, and how the staging. It's just it's so good, and it's so self-contained and perfect and wonderful, and how do you not love that?
I feel like because they didn't modernize it, it was more believable.
Yes.
It just gave you that old gritty feel.
Yeah.
You could see someone just out digging in the trenches looking for artifacts,
Right.
and just it really does.
Yeah.
That movie was perfect, like so good.
Yeah, and it's just one of those things where it, like, as a kid, like there was there's times where I wanted to be like Indiana Jones, like Luke
Mhm.
Skywalker. These are like our heroes that we grew up with, and it came from the creator in his mind, and just like he just knows how to like tell good stories, and it's so unique, and I'm so
it's
glad
so
that
funny,
you're
like you wanted to be Indiana Jones and Luke Skywalker, and I wanted to be like Rick Baker and Stuart Freeporn.
yeah, there you go.
yeah.
Even as a kid, I'm just like, nope, that's what I want. I want to make that. I don't know. Maybe my parents were just way too practical. Like they didn't let me believe any of this. Like, Mom, were they really in space? No, somebody made that, and I was like, ooh, that's cooler.
Yeah, how'd you do that?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, before we start, asking a lot of questions in regards to, all the updates that you have for us from not only your new IP but the Star Wars IP as well.
Yeah.
Just wanted to ask you this question: What is your favorite Indiana Jones movie of all time?
I mean, for me, that's a real easy answer with the first one, Raiders.
Okay.
I have I have a very warm place in my heart for Last Crusade. I have
Yes.
great memories of seeing it with my dad, and I have really fond memories of Temple of Doom. Which, if you were in the New York area, HBO. I guess this would have been HBO everywhere, but at the time, HBO was relatively new. But they ran Temple of Doom nonstop.
I remember
It
that
was
too.
like,
I remember that too.
I'm
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember. Like, you had Temple of Doom, you had like Transylvania 65000. I'm not even sure what year that came out, but that was another one that just ran to death. There were like this handful of movies that you just couldn't turn on HBO and not see that movie. And so every time Temple of Doom came on, I watched it. And so like I probably have seen that one the most. And I loved the video game. When that video game came out, I was hooked on that thing. We went on a family vacation, and it was this resort upstate, and they had an arcade. And I remember I won like $40 at bingo. I spent all $40 in that arcade over the course of like 4 or 5 days. And most of them were in that Temple of Doom machine. I was hooked. But like we were saying before, Raiders it really is a perfect film, and so much of it just comes down to it agrees with itself the whole way through. And it's so funny. Like, people kind of, rightfully or wrongly, they're sort of like the troll and the anti-troll cycle when it comes to movies now. And it's like anybody who has a negative opinion about a movie, even if you are a real fan, it's very easy to accidentally get lumped in with people who are just there to kind of monetize hate. And then there's the sort of anti-troll movement can sometimes be even stronger than the troll movement. And it's very like, okay, everybody take a breath. But one of the complaints about newer films, any genre, is uneven tone, is like the thing that people throw out there a lot. And I often see people kind of try to minimize that. People in the anti-hate group try to minimize the idea of uneven tone. But I feel like that is something that I like. Just a lot of modern movies I leave the theater and I'm like, that movie didn't agree with itself. That movie didn't know what it was. And I'm sure it's 90% of that is the fact that they've got 86 producers and 23 writers. And, they've changed the storyline 17 times over. And the lead guy has had half of his face removed with CGI. But, I feel like when you go back to Raiders, is there a point in that movie where you ever went like, oh, that's just... They took me out of it.
Yeah, like, why are they doing this? It was like, no. And then just the music alone. Like,
John Williams,
you know what gets me every time is when he's swimming onto the sub and all of a sudden the music starts playing and everyone starts cheering. I get goosebumps every time I watch that scene. I'm like,
and it's like,
it's just
and that's
such a
great
great
scene that in any other movie, the idea of him somehow hanging onto his
there's no way you're going to swim fast enough to catch up with a submarine, but he's like,
it's ridiculous as an idea, but the movie embraces a degree of ridiculous. And it's like it knows how far it wants to take it, and it knows how far it's going to push it, and the humor is the same throughout the whole movie. The effects are the same throughout the movie. The stunts are the same. Like, everything has a level, and everything plays its part. And that's why that one's the easy, choice for me.
Can you think back of, like, recently, what movie have you walked out of the theater and went, wow, that was amazing? I couldn't tell you. It's been so long.
I'll say I probably I really enjoyed Endgame. Probably not. I'm not in the minority there. I'd imagine a lot. All
that stuff.
That was a really impressive stick of the landing of, like, 20 movies worth of work. And like, I left more impressed that I wasn't disappointed more than anything. Even if you want to say, oh, it's not a perfect movie or it's not as great or whatever, it's uneven, this, that, and the other thing. Like there is very little reason that movie should have worked at that point. You know,
Right.
like Marvel had already had a few that weren't as good.
Yeah.
You know, they were tying in so many people and so many things, and like for that movie to come out of that movie and not be disappointed is like such a win. But I enjoyed the heck out of it, and once it came on, you know, streaming or whatever, I threw it on the big screen, watched it a few times, and it's like, yeah, this is fun. Like that, and that to me is like that's the goal, right? Like you want to watch a movie because it's fun. You don't want I don't want to watch a movie to get depressed. I don't want to watch a movie to be fill myself with doubt or concern. Like you know, maybe I'll watch a documentary for that, but like I want to, like, if I'm gonna sit down and spend 2.5 hours worth of time on something, I'd like to go away,
have fun at it.
Be entertained. Yeah. And you know, it's just, again, for me, I grew up in the 80s, and maybe I'm biased here, but I just think in the 80s there were so many unique movies, like one of a kind. I mean, I remember as a kid, and I know this is not Star Wars related, but watching Monster Squad. I don't know. I mean, just the imagination of a lot of these writers back then. There was so much. It was like every movie was filled with imagination. As ridiculous as some of the movies are, they still had heart and still had a lot of imagination. I'll give you an example. Don't let the Big is like, oh my gosh, who would have thought Big would be like, you know?
Yeah.
And then
it's a great movie.
It's a great movie. Back to the Future, you know, Terminator,
the first
Alien.
one.
The first
No, I watched the marathon.
No,
I did a 3-movie marathon last night.
No, you didn't.
We did it. I was up until like 2 a.m. I watched the first 3 because I'll be quite honest with you, there was a lot of stuff that I forgot. So I rewatched it, and I gotta say 2 is my favorite.
Really? Oh my god!
Because it's a whole bunch of different multiverses.
Oh.
You've got like 3 different Biffs that have to give each other the almanac. I just loved like the whole sequence of the different multiverses.
Yeah.
Number 1 had really good lines, but I love
number
2.
1's the best. Honestly, because Gabe loves number 2. So
I really like
so I tried to give it a chance like a month or so ago. I was like, all right, I'm gonna flip it. And I couldn't get past 15 minutes of it.
See, I thought it was great. I couldn't get past 15 minutes of 3. I was like,
3. Well, we agree with 3.
Yeah.
And like the same thing with Indiana Jones. Like my favorite, I freaking love Temple of Doom. And that's because it's to me, that's what I, you know, because I'm younger than you guys, but you know, I started watching.
Rub it in.
I watched that one first before I saw, you know, Raiders of the Lost Ark. So like I prefer that one.
But
yeah.
So she saw them in chronological order. I got this. Okay.
Yeah.
But and then plus, like, you know, what I grew up with, you know, in the late 80s and the early 90s, like I grew up in a home where we watched more like horror films. So I grew up with like Hellraiser, Werewolf in London, you know, The Exorcist, and I watched Star Wars, but I was more into like gory, you know.
Well, Temple of Doom fits the bill there.
But but even growing up though, like Temple of Doom was my favorite until I got older, and then I appreciated like, okay, the writing, the stories better at Raiders was better as I've gotten older.
How much older?
Older. You know what? Where we at?
Just so that Nilda knows when it's going to happen, you know.
We're not going to say that.
Okay.
This speaks for itself.
Yeah, but all those movies,
like Santa.
We could say that Sean's like my
kids on my. I'm gonna have kids.
Between me and Sean's age gap, you can just say that he's like my big brother. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah,
that might be the kindest thing you've ever said to him.
No,
it is.
I've said nicer stuff.
Well, I was gonna say, you know, I put Raiders number 1 just because it's just so unique and one of a kind, and just you never saw anything like that in the movie theaters, or even when I watched it was in VHS. But what number 2 for me would be Last Crusade. I don't know why I love that movie so much. It's just the banter, but it's just the banter, the banter between Harrison Ford and Sean Connery. It was really just good. Like yes, like it just like the chemistry was on screen was just perfect. And
Somebody-
obviously,
We
yeah.
named
so
a
good.
dog Indiana. That's like my favorite line.
Yeah. And it
The
was just like,
dog?
yeah, it was just so unique. And obviously and we'll talk about a certain prop that
Oh,
just got
You don't say.
announced. Yeah, it is basically the holy grail of grails. Literally, it's
Never watched Star Wars.
what David said, never watch Star Wars. Raiders in chronological.
Yeah, we'll be lost.
Yeah,
It's like Han Solo's changed a lot.
That's
I know.
right. Well,
And
I will say, like somebody pointed out, or somebody made the comment recently, like Last Crusade almost feels like a parody of Raiders. I don't necessarily agree with that. But
I don't get that.
I don't get that.
I feel like some of the characters feel a little like a parody in it, but like the movie itself, I think it takes a little while getting there. But as soon as Sean Connery really shows up in the movie, then it's just off to the races from that point on.
Oh yes,
the relationship is good, the banter is good, the the intertwining of Elsa and the bad guys and all of that stuff is just all really well done. And just even the 3 trials and finding the Grail at the end and saving the father. Oh, sorry, spoiler alert. And it's like all of that just works so well, and it's like a well-crafted adventure, which it should be. And again, you leave the theater feeling like you just feel great after you watch that movie.
Yeah, exactly. And just especially now, the nostalgia, like when you think about those movies, like just warms your heart. And that's for me is what I want out of a movie, right? Like entertain, nostalgia, all those things, and I think Indiana Jones did a great job. Speaking of holy grails, we do have yeah, right. I think Regal Robot and the Tom and the Regal Robot team did a phenomenal job with this release.
Thank you very much.
And that is the Holy Grail chalice.
Yeah.
That is amazing. And we do have someone here on the panel that did, pre-order it. So
who bought that?
Who could have done it?
Who could have been?
Someone's who's been decorating his office.
My new office is going.
Sean, can I borrow it for my Her Universe campaign since we're doing Indiana Jones?
I know.
I've been going to like thrift stores trying to find like an old school indie hat, and I was able to find a whip. So
Nice.
I'm missing like different pieces.
Yeah.
We put like everything we do, we put a lot into this one. And just trying to make sure, this is, it's part of the archive collection. So, that means we've had our hands on the real prop. In this case, we did a high resolution 3D scan of the original prop. We actually even did a full color scan of it so that we get placement of the gold plating and stuff on the outside. That's not really plating, whatever. I guess it's supposed to be. It's an interesting thing. I saw somebody who was trying to figure out why this has gold on it. The whole idea, it's a cup of the carpenter, right? And my theory in my head was always the idea that this had been, the Grail cup. And then because people were worshiping this thing, they gilded it with gold on over time. And over time, that all wore off. And that's why when, if you flip to some other photos, you can see there's, these very unique patterns of gold on the outside of the cup. And there are all these, they kind of look, for us, we always treat stuff like that, like countries on a map, or islands in the sea. Like, so we try and match up those shapes as best we can. And then in this case, so we high resolution scan the original. We used our color scan to determine placement on all the spots and things like that. We color matched all of the different layers of paint on it using, Pantone color matching and things like that. And then once we had our master made and we had our first test pieces, we did all the paint by hand and basically tried to match everything up as best we could. And we've done a small run of them so far. You can actually see there's a handful of reviewers out there that have done them. If you're in the,
I saw the Adam Savage one today.
Oh yeah. Which is always, I mean, it's always awesome when Adam can review something, because he's he's a guy. One, he's made everything in the world. He's seen every replica that's been done.
Yeah.
He knows what this compares against, and he's been to the archive, so he's seen the real one.
And he lives at Prop Shop, so it's like,
so it's like when he gives you the sign off like that, man, that's a good feeling. Like when he likes something, it's like, okay, now we did good. But yeah, if anybody's in the if anybody out there isn't already in the Regal Robot Facebook group, just look up Regal Robot Showcase on Facebook. It's the Regal Robot Fan and Collector Showcase group. Please join us there. We're actually running a contest for anybody that's got our stuff. If they want to post up pictures of our things in their collection, we're giving away one of Phil Tippett's books. And then the 3 videos I'm talking about, it was Gabe, Alex Arnold, and Adam Savage. All put videos up in the last few days. But we painted a handful of those. We had to also do our samples for Disney and Lucasfilm and stuff. And it's really cool because there's a great shot in the group. We haven't posted this elsewhere. It was a group exclusive, but there's like 4 or 5 of them on a table together. And you can see the consistency is really, really good. They are, we always say in the style of, because they are hand painted, there's going to be some variation. If we try to, when you're doing washes and things like distressing and dirt, if you try to do that too specifically, it's going to look fake. So you have to do it in the same style with the same technique, which is loose. So things like that, there's this mossy beigey color on one half of the cup. That's all put on by hand. The weathering and distressing on the whole thing is put on by hand. All those big landmarks, we have that placement set to go. So that's going to be consistent. The inside is going to be consistent. The basic color is all consistent. There'll be some little variation, but I think we did 8 or 9 of them in a shot. And I was super impressed with how consistent they were. Like to the point where usually, you do something like that and you're trying to pick the best one to send to Lucasfilm or the best one to make your photo master. And we just looked and was like, all right, I guess this one's good enough for photos. And like I said, that one was just like, wasn't even worth trying to pick one. They were all just really, really good. So,
I think I have a picture. I think I have a picture from the Facebook group. I'll share it real quick.
Yeah, because when I
wait, what? How on earth? No. Okay, sorry, that was the wrong. No, I'm just
wow. I was gonna say, Tom, I had just.
Well, we'll definitely, I'll pick your.
I was gonna say, Tom, I had just purchased my first maquette from you guys, so I'm like very excited.
Oh, nice. Which one?
The Neem Num.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yep. We've just starting production on those. We have Yak Faces in production, and and on the Yak Face, what was that? That was an edition of 125. Those are all cast, cleaned up, and they're all base painted.
That's cool.
And then
I want that statue.
Oh, is that? That's all Alex's picture.
Oh man, I was going through his collection yesterday.
Yeah,
I'm like zooming in. I'm like,
sick.
I want this. I want that. I want to get this.
I was like,
awesome.
What a well thought out collection right there. So
yeah. And it's just so cool, like to see when we do something like this. To me, it's like seeing it in someone's collection makes it cooler. It's like it's like I'm just. Okay, I can see it in my hand. I can see it on our photo table. Whatever. But like, no, I love it. Like it's in the wild now.
I know, because I saw that shot where you had all of them laid out, and I'm thinking, are some of us going to get ours early, or are you going to make us wait until they're all done and then send them out?
Yeah, no, we got that. That was to get all of our contractual samples and our APs and things together, making sure that we've got everything locked down. We always do a short run to make sure that everything works before we put something up for sale. The last thing we want to do is sell something and then realize like,
we
this
can't
is
do
be
it.
harder than we thought. But yeah, the at the moment the Yak Faces are all cast. They're all base painted. They're just about to start paint on them. But the last couple of weeks, we've been working really hard on Tusken Raiders. So that's been really cool to see come together. There's about 50 of them in the works at the same time right now. So we've decided to make a little bit of a full court press on that. We've got maybe 2/3 the shop on it, which is a lot for us on a single project.
Yeah.
And
it's still available for people that still are on the fence and picking it up.
It's a cool piece. You know what's neat too? It's funny. Our prototype and Photomaster it's really good, but I actually think the wrap colors, which it's tough to tell in a photo, but the color on the head wraps is actually like 20% better on the production run, because when we were doing the prototypes, we were hand dyeing all of that. And on the production run, we had custom fabric loomed, which it was the same custom fabric, but we had a bigger run done, and we had them dye it to some samples that we made at the archives, and they really nailed it on that. So once we started doing the distressing on it, everything really came together, and we've got I would say there's probably, as of today, there's probably about 20 or so of the heads that are about halfway wrapped. The rest of them are all assembled. They're cast, painted, metal pieces in place, and they're just we're just starting to do the wrap. So as of today, I think we had 6 people all at once working just on wrapping heads, and it'll be that way for another couple of weeks. We'll get them all wrapped up. All the torsos are already wrapped. They've got their fabric on. They've got the neck fabric. They were getting the bottoms on and their logos and things today. The bases are in. So it's all coming together, and it's going to be really cool to put like 50 of these in a lineup and try, and I got to see if we can do like a big group picture of them or something.
Oh, please.
Chewies. It's just always so cool to see when you can line stuff up like that.
Now, Tom, roughly, do you know how tall that is?
It's on that page. If you scroll down, there's a specifications section. Now, that's a good tip for anybody. We get a lot of people who email us those kinds of questions. They're like,
and it's right there.
How much does this weigh? How tall is it? How big is the shipping box?
Okay.
On every item on our site, just scroll down to specifications. We try and put all of that stuff on there.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Because I was on the fence on this, because I'm running out of space, and I'm just like, and that's why I really like it, and I know it's still available, and it's so tempting.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm like,
we made that a pretty big run on purpose. You know, there's nothing worse than going to someone's website and having nothing you can buy. So it's important to us that we keep some things in stock for a while. We're about 80% of the way sold through, I think.
Yeah. I was just highlighting it here. So I was gonna I'm gonna mention, like for people that are new to Regal Robot, one thing with these pieces, that once it's sold out, and it's a small run.
Yeah.
And
we just had someone who picked up it was number 2 from our first run of the Chewbacca busts, the one with the shorter neck, and the it was the Peter Mayhew tribute edition, basically. It's going to be the signature edition, wound up being the tribute edition, and someone just picked one of those up and posted it on one of the groups, and a bunch of people were like, "Oh God, I thought it was a for sale post," because you just never see those come up for sale. Mm-hmm. And he got the Mark Hamill letter with it, he got the plaque with it, everything. It was and it's so rare to see the older stuff come up. Like, when's the last time you saw one of the Rancors that we did come up for sale? Even if they do, they're obviously that scarcity makes them valuable, so people price them appropriately, but it's not even a question of that. They're just not there. We have a bunch of customers who have found us since those things came out and sold out, and they've bought everything else we've got, and they're always telling us, like, if you ever hear one of your customers wants to sell their Rancor, let me know. So
that was the one thing I missed. I regret that one the most.
I know. I saw what it looked like, and I'm like,
people are always asking us about the maquette version now, because we've been doing so many of the maquettes, and the Phil's Rancor maquette is really good.
That could be my first maquette.
It is so close to his final sculpt. I mean, look, it's hard to overstate how freaking talented Phil Tippett is.
Yeah.
Like it's one of those things that's almost like comedic. Oh my God, that sideshow one is so huge.
Yeah, so this is mine, Tom. I'm still working around things because
I feel like there's some forced perspective going on in that picture too. Like I don't think like it's big, but it's not that much.
Well, so I have a lot of I love the Jabba the Hutt scene, right? So
same.
I want to have one section dedicated to just a lot of just a lot of things from that scene. So that's why I'm kind of figuring things out. This is still in the works, but can I tell you, if there, knock on wood, if there was a fire in my house, obviously get the kids and wife and kids out.
You have to say that you're on the air, otherwise.
Yeah.
She might be listening in the background, but I will run back and get my Rancor and my. I would not get the sideshow one; it's just too big. But the Regal Robot Rancor, that is. But the thing too is it's so delicate. You kind of, I would be walking out of my
PJ's feet would be on fire.
Man dies in fire for holding,
saving a Rancor.
Regal Robot Rancor.
Yeah,
we should make the base lighter so it's easier for him to carry. Listen, let's just hope it doesn't come to that for starters.
No, yes, of course. But
we had somebody at the shop today who is a screen used prop collector, but who had never seen the Rancor in person, hadn't been to our shop since pre-COVID, and was coming to drop off some things for us to restore. And he caught the Rancor out of the corner of his eye that we keep in the office. And, just the look on his face, it was I mean, it's a pretty good piece. Hold on. Pat myself on the back there.
Where is your headquarters located?
We're in New York. We're on Long Island, in an undisclosed location.
Yes, I've been there before. So
yeah,
I'm going to be in New York. I would love to visit you, and I'm actually going to be in Long Island.
Well, all right. Yeah, let us know.
I'm coming in September.
Okay. Yeah, keep us posted. It's funny. We try to limit people coming in for numerous reasons. Obviously, some of the stuff we're working on is super private. Some of the stuff we're working on just hasn't been released yet or hasn't been talked about. And Disney's, wants us to be. We've got to run stuff through them before we start talking about it. Yeah. But whenever if someone's local and they're able to pick up, at the very least they can get it. We'll have them into the lobby where we've got some stuff on display, and maybe you don't get the full studio tour, but you can at least poke around and see some of the stuff in person that maybe you've missed. But it is we get a lot of people who are like, hey, I was looking for your address on the website. I want to come by. And it's like, please don't. We're sorry, we're not able to accommodate that.
Yeah, sign this NDA first.
Yeah. Like they want to just come down and shop the shelves, It's like, I wanted to pick up a Tauntaun. Like, well, we make those to order, those are giant, and we don't just keep 10 of them laying around or or whatever. But yeah, it is always nice when we do have someone who's a longtime customer that comes pick something up and see us. And if it's not that, if it's PJ, then it's okay too, I guess. But it's nice when it's other people.
Yeah, it's let's just say that. It's so nice that when you meet the people that work on your collectibles and you see how nice they are and how personable they are. And I'm not even just saying that because Tom's here, but honestly though, they have such a great team, and it's just the hard work, that you guys don't even see it. The hard work that they pour into making sure that every collectible that we get is just great.
There's a lot that goes on behind the curtain. And
I'll be honest with you, I had the best customer experience with you guys when I had purchased the let me see if I can turn my camera, when I had purchased the embossed plaques. She was just I forgot the name of the girl. I think it's Katie.
Yep, that would have been
She
Katie.
was awesome. She was emailing me. She's like, hey, got your order, hey, we're shipping it out. I'm like, thank you so much.
The goal for them is always, it's like treat everybody like they're buying the most expensive thing we got. It doesn't matter, small thing, big thing, whatever. Every customer deserves that personal service. They put so much time into that. They've been so overwhelmed the last really month and a half, maybe even more than that, because we had May the 4th and our sales, we had a big sale May the 4th, and we had a lot of people order.
Yes.
And this isn't Amazon. There's not robots picking stuff and putting it in boxes. There's not a conveyor belt. This is, so it very quickly became like the I Love Lucy episode, where it's just, everybody's trying to get things done. But, you're talking about, you could have over a weekend hundreds of orders, and you've still only got, Katie and Ross and maybe, whoever our bookkeeper is, or Christine pitching in a little bit, and, and then maybe some people from the back pitching. But, when you're talking hundreds of orders, even, if you're only dealing with 3 or 4 people working on it, like, that can take some time. And our day-to-day isn't obviously that kind of volume. Otherwise we'd have a much bigger team. But yeah, so when we have event stuff, sometimes, they get a little overworked. And at the same time that happened, we had wrapped up production on the gaffy sticks. And so we were very eager to get those into people's hands. We actually bumped them up ahead of the Tusken Raider busts. On the bust, the metal pieces were taking longer to get done at the CNC shop. We had scanned the original on that. We did micromillimeter measurements on all of them. And so we were having all of that separately professionally machined in aluminum so that all the parts would be the same. And while I was like, okay, well, that's slowing us up over there. Let's focus on the gaffy sticks. And we got all the gaffy sticks done, but finished them right around May the 4th. And so, they just got hammered with orders. And then they had to figure out, how do we pack up, all of these gaffy sticks by hand with, each one of them gets 5 layers of foam. Multiple pieces have to get hand bubble wrap. You got a plaque. You got to make sure the number on the plaque matches the person's order. You got COAs. You got warning labels. You got assembly instructions, folders, etc. And then you've got to process the shipments and make sure they get to people and email the people and, yada, yada, yada. So they have just been so overworked. The Grogu's finished around the same time too. The first big wave, or the second big wave of those. Those actually, for anybody who's been looking at the Baby Yoda maquette that we did, I know we have a small handful of them now that are like ready to ship if you order. So they'll go right out if you do pick one of those up. Max Rebo as well. We have a batch of those that are ready to go.
I've been deciding if I want to get the Max Rebo since Sean met the actual actor and got a signature for me.
Oh,
so I want to pair the two.
It's a cool one. That was the one that really sparked people on. We knew the maquettes were cool, and we had done the Jabba and the Tauntaun and the Gamorrean from Mando and stuff ahead of time. But it was Max that really like sparked that whole thing, that like other people started to get it. And once they got it, then it was like, oh, okay, now we can, let's really make a line out of this. We had been working towards it for a long time, but once Max hit, it was like, okay, now we can really start to do this. And there it is. I mean,
it looks just like Stuart Freeborn.
It really does.
It really does. It really does.
Not even all of them. That's pre-Yak Face and Nine Numb, but it's if you go to Nine Numb, it's probably got a more inclusive photo.
I'm so excited for that
impressive. One. Every time we line up more, every time we do another one, we take that group photo and it gets bigger and bigger every time, and it's just amazing. We've also got at our studio, Dave Carson. He's amazing. If anybody, if you like hearing the stories of the people that worked on the movie, I've done a series of interviews with all of these guys now, and girls with Judy Elkins in there as well. But if you go to the Tom Spina Designs YouTube page at Tom Spina Designs, you can get the full length ones. These are like podcast length, an hour or more, long, in-depth talk and shop with these people about their work on the movies. Sometimes on stuff even beyond Star Wars. And then if you just want like more bite-sized, just about Star Wars or just about the characters we're doing, you can go to @Regal Robot on YouTube, and you can find all of those there. I have so much fun talking to those people. It's just that's a dream come true for me. Those are heroes for me. Yeah, there you go. It's there's a whole host of them. Phil Tippett, John Berg and Dennis Muren, and Ken Ralston's one was amazing. Chris Wayless was really good. Judy Elkins was cool too, because you know, she's not someone that has done a ton of interviews. You know, it's like we've all heard Phil Tippett on interviews. We've all heard, you know, Dennis Muren on interviews and things like that. But, you know, Ken Ralston, you don't see a ton of. Judy, you never see anywhere.
Not Ken Ralston.
Dave Carson, you know, he's gotten interviewed a few places, but not a lot. Even Chris Wayless, for everything he's done, you don't get a lot of that. But Ken is so fun.
Yeah, that was good.
That might be my favorite of them, actually. His intro, like when I asked him to tell people about what he did, is probably like the best answer out of all of them. And but yeah, so go check him out if you're watching. Watch this first, but then go check.
Yeah, there you go.
Yes.
It's bad form for the guests to send people away.
No, please.
Yeah,
well, just really quick, let's suggest the chat real quick. And we got Darth Kenobi in the house. What's up, Darth?
Santino.
We got Trooping with Robin.
Hey, Robin.
We got Sean Stone in the house.
That guy.
Yes,
yeah, that guy.
I remember
where.
I remember last year, you know, when we were hanging out in Celebration, he was always making a beeline to your booth because he needed to get the Max Rebo maquette. And I remember when I first met him, that's all he talked about. I'm like, hey, Sean, what's going on, man? He's like, hey, man, I can't wait. By the way, I gotta go to the Regal Robot booth. And I'm like, okay, all right.
He did spend a lot of time at our booth, though. I will say that.
Oh yeah, he's a big, huge fan, and he's a great guy too. Like I hung out with him.
Yeah, he's super awesome.
Yeah,
you're only saying that because he's watching, but it's fine.
No,
he's a really good guy.
He was on the show the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, and I spent. He was just super awesome guy, and I'm so happy I got a chance to hang out with him in Celebration. But trust me, the first day he was like disappointed because he was like, "Oh man, they sold out." I'm like, "Really?" Like, oh my. He's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "All right, well." He's like, "Well, I'm going to have a second allotment for the second day." So yeah, he's like, "I'm going to make a beeline again," and I'm glad that he got it because he was so happy that he got it. And
that was one of those things. Whenever we do an exclusive at a show, I try to do that. It's, you know, to me, not everybody's going to be at every day of every show, especially when you're talking about like a show that starts on a Thursday, right? Like, you know, so if we just put all of ours out on Thursday morning, we would have sold all of them before, you know, probably before 10 a.m. because you have all those early, you know, the Jedi Academy people or whatever the heck lining up at, you know, 9 a.m. sharp. And even if the show doesn't open till 10 or however it works. So for me, it was really important to just kind of say, we judged the first day, we kind of played it by ear. And, you know, when it became clear, it was like, oh, if we let this go, this is going to completely sell out. We were like, okay, let's stop here. I think it was like 25 or 30 pieces. And then we said, well, let's, you know, the next at least 2 days so that we could get Friday and a weekend day. I think we held back even a few for Sunday morning after that, just in case. Because I mean, you know, who knows if someone's just there on Sunday. You know, in hindsight, it would have been nice to make that a bigger edition. But we just didn't know. We didn't know that we would sell that many. We didn't know that. It was also down to, we tried to make them, to bring them to the show so that people could have them. And it was a really late switch. It was supposed to be Bib Fortuna that was the first one. And with Lucasfilm, it was the decision was made we were going to switch those and do the exclusive signature edition at the show. And I think it was within like probably 30 days that they made 83 of those Max Rebos at the shop. Wow. It was crazy. It was kind of bonkers making that happen and getting, you know, Phil to sign everything and getting all the boxes, getting all of our approvals and everything in 30 days. Like, that is an extremely short turnaround for a product design and development phase, never mind, you know, a short run production like that. So it was bonkers. By the time usually we do a show like that, and at the end of the show, we're just dead, you know? And in this case, like, we got to the show and we were already dead. Yeah.
You're like, how are we going to make it?
We almost didn't. That show, man, we've had some crazy shows in the past. this last celebration, everybody that worked our booth was just destroyed by like Friday afternoon. We were done. We were toast.
Yeah, I mean, I know the feeling because I represented a company last year for San Diego Comic-Con, and oh my gosh, it was like by Saturday, I like was exhausted. Like I was just like I couldn't talk anymore. My feet were killing me. But the thing is that you start off Saturday morning, you're like, okay, I got my cup of coffee, I can make it. But then but by the time the doors open, you're like,
well, and never mind the fact that we're a tiny company, so it's not like Funko where you go in and if you're the DJ at the Funko booth, you're just rolling up at 10 a.m. You do your DJ thing and you go home. Like they have a whole crew that comes in and builds the booth. When they're done at the end of the day, they leave and someone tears it all down. Like we had to set up the booth, we had to put out the stock, we had to organize everything. Anytime we were low on stock, we're the ones restocking the shelves. Every night we're restocking the booth. Every morning we're setting up again. Every night we're restocking again. Like it was so much work just outside of even just the interactions and doing the sales and getting everything going. Yeah. It was, man, it was still a fun show, and there was still, so many great moments. And for me, the best part is just, seeing everybody. All my friends from all over the world that I never see anywhere other than at Celebration. But yeah, exhausting. We all came home and we're just like, okay, we need a week.
Boss, can I have a week off?
And instead, no, I'm like right back.
Get back to it.
Oh my God. But can I tell you, like, what people don't know, and I think I said it in the show before, that like once the convention is done at 5:00 when they say doors are closing, is probably the most wonderful thing as if you worked in the convention, like that you have heard all weekend long, just because now you could actually like close up. But the thing is, it's like it's a bittersweet moment because then you have to you realize that, oh shoot, I gotta pack all these things up. We gotta break down the booth, and then we gotta wait for people that take out all your containers, and
you might have to wait for them to bring you your crates first. We once did a Comic-Con where the show ended at 5 and they didn't bring our crates until like 11.
What?
And they wouldn't let us leave to get anything to eat or anything. You had to just sit at the booth and wait.
What?
And like we wound up sneaking out, getting food at one of the nearby hotels, and then just like try and stop me, security guy. Like I'm going back. I'm like, vendor, let me in.
Get me out of here. I'm hangry. Yes.
The traveling Jedi said that he'll volunteer at your booth in exchange for store credit.
That's not volunteering then. Wait a minute.
He's like, I'm paying you somehow.
Wait a minute. Hey, Sean, I'll volunteer in booth. Only if you pay me with your Tusken Raider bus.
That's how that works. No, that's very generous of him. It's funny, at those shows sometimes you've got to wait forever. We lucked out, so EFX had the booth behind us. Brian, poor Brian Ono passed away a couple months later. Was always super great to us. Just really kind of helped us along as newer licensees for somebody that he was in that side of the business for his whole life, really. But they had, I don't know if someone canceled or whatever, but the booth next to him wound up being empty at the last minute. And the Celebration people offered it to him, and he offered immediately, said like, oh, Tom, do you need a place to put your crates? You can keep your stuff in here. And that saved us, because that meant at 5:00 we could just pull our crates out and start packing up. We didn't have to wait for them to bring our stuff just for us to pack it up to then give it back. And when you're packing up, the worst part is like, we planned those crates for like 2 months ahead of time so that every nook and cranny is perfectly filled. But then you sell half the stuff. And now we got to figure out, like, wait, how does this all fit together now?
Oh, don't get me started. Don't get me started. Oh my God. Like, especially like when you have like products that you have displayed, you're like, wait, you're like, how did I pack this Tusken Raider bust again? Like, was it like a wrapping around this way?
On the way home,
Yeah, I know the feeling, and you guys do such a great job, because it's a lot of hard work, and conventions are not fun. And speaking of conventions, are you going to be in your Comic-Con this year, or San Diego, or any?
Not at either. No.
Either one. Okay.
Yeah, San Diego we did once or twice. Might be something we do in the future. We'll see. Right now, Celebration is the for sure show for us.
Yeah.
You know, it's one of those that, you know, it's where all our fans are. It's where, you know, everything is focused on the stuff we make, and it's a really, really good show for us. We're talking to the right people, we're selling to the right people, and it's always a really strong show, not just money wise, but just for like the interaction and everything. The energy is so good. At the other shows where there's tons of other IPs and there are people who are only there for Marvel or only there for DC or only there for Transformers or only there for whatever, you definitely have a lot more foot traffic that walks right past your booth, no matter how good a presence you have. It's not a deal breaker, but it's definitely a little disheartening when you do that. These shows are so much effort. It's like, you know what? I want to maximize. I want to make sure that when we're at one of these shows, we are always with, and apparently I've just bored Nilda to death.
No, I'm so sorry. I needed water. I just finished being sick. So and my throat is still like, if I talk too much, it still irritates me.
It's okay. I mean, it was just as likely that I bored you to death.
No, I swear to God, I can listen to you talk for hours. You're good.
Oh, goodness.
I find this fascinating.
Don't threaten your audience like that. So anyway, so Star Wars Celebration for sure. Comic-Con, maybe. Depends what we have going. New York Comic-Con is, funny enough, that's actually an even tougher show for us to do than San Diego for some various reasons.
Really?
Yeah, because it's not like you can't just drive up at a show like that, you know, like especially with our type of booth where you're bringing in crates. So you're still paying for trucking, you're still paying for drayage, you're still getting stuff trucked out to the booth and trucked back. Like, it's not like you can just carry stuff in because you're local. And New York City, as close as it is to us, is still far enough that everybody still needs hotels. You know, you still have to bring the crew in. We couldn't be going back and forth every day. You know, as it is, we've learned at these shows, you know, we used to do when I was a young lad, much like Sean.
How young?
You know, I would go to these shows when I was a guest of the shows, and I would always if I was a guest and they were putting me up, it was great. I was in the closed hotel. If I was just doing a handful of panels and they didn't want to give me a hotel, I would always get the one that was like half a mile away and just walk or whatever, you know, or a few hotels down. And we tried that once when we were doing the show, and very quickly realized that you were not fit to walk that far, you know, immediately after the show. So, and then it became like, well, what if we get the show two hotels away? Nope. One hotel. Nope. The one connected to the thing. Maybe if we're on the same side of the building, like that was like, we have to be as close as humanly possible to the show if we're doing the show. So anyway, yeah, so that's that.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, yeah, it's obviously a lot of effort. You know, you said Celebration. I know Celebration, the next Celebration is going to be in Japan.
Yeah.
I will be there.
Would you be making a trip out to?
Just for licensing reasons alone, some limitations on our distribution. We probably, I'll say the next U.S. Celebration, 100%. That's our show.
Yeah.
And the cool thing, you know, doing the U.S. Celebration is great too, because they always have me on as a guest doing panels and things as well. And I really I just have so much fun doing that. You know, the audiences there are so psyched for it. And I'm bringing people with me that are, you know, either people who worked on the movies or just people who are obsessed with the behind the scenes the way I am. And we like to, you know, I feel like there is a shortage of panels at these shows on the making of the movies, on the behind the scenes, on the real like itty bitty detail type stuff that we all love so much. And so I love those kind of panels. And if no one's going to do them, I'm going to do them. So I try to do them. And we always get a packed house. It's always a place to be. And it's always just so much fun, because I wish that more people would realize, like in the management of the celebration and whoever's setting all that up, I hope that they see the energy that those crowds bring, and that, yeah, they're in there and they're cheering for the people who are on The Mandalorian, or they're cheering for the folks on Ahsoka or whatever the next movie is, but they're also cheering for Rick Baker and Phil Tippett and Doug Beswick and John Berg and Ken Ralston and Dave Carson and Stuart Freeborn and all of these amazing people that made the movie they love so much. And so I love shining that spotlight on them. And really, it's, we've carried that over to Regal. Like, that's where all of these interviews I've been doing come from. That's when we're doing the maquettes, we are, we're doing signature editions with the people who made it, and not just, your average everyday sort of thing. So
that's cool.
Yeah. And for the people that haven't been to Celebration, it's just a unique feeling, all right?
Yeah.
Star Wars fans, we do have our differences, right? Like whether we like the prequels, sequels, original trilogy, Jar Jar, holiday special, whatever it is, we set that all aside, and we are just happy that we are celebrating Star Wars, right? Celebration. Celebrating Star Wars, and we put all those things aside, and we just have lots of fun. And last year, seriously, that was my third celebration. I had so much fun. The first one will be very special to me because it's my first one. Plus, I got a chance to meet like Tom. Well, Tom was very busy. I was introduced to Regal Robot at that convention. I was just like, yep. Dewback sofa sold. Like, this is the company I'm gonna support for a very long time. Like,
that pretty much
you just
told
don't
you
get
what we were about.
Oh yeah, I was sold already. I think I bought a plaque there too. It was the first Boba Fett plaque. The man that it was the yellow back wooden thing, so it was good.
We had, it really is one of those things where you said it right. There isn't another show that feels like Celebration. There are great shows out there that have a great feeling to them. One is FanX over in Salt Lake City. I was a guest of that show a bunch of times.
Yeah.
It is a great show. The location is really good. The hotels are right there that are great, and it's a super friendly crowd, and it's very it's like on the verge of being too popular for the place it's in, so it's like it's got a ton of energy, but it's not overwhelmed. And they do great panels, and they have great guests, and they always have amazing guests doing autographs and stuff, and they're all very approachable, and the way that their setup is just so good there. That's a show that has a great feel to it. There's tons and tons of others. Monster Palooza is another one. That's
one. I want to go to that so bad.
And actually,
one of my really good friends, Michael, is always like FaceTiming me and showing me all the crazy stuff. And I guess this year they had like a huge showcase, because my favorite horror movie of all time is The Exorcist, and they had a full Reagan bust.
Yeah.
And he FaceTimed me immediately, and he's like, "Do you want this?" I was like, "How much?" I got so excited.
Here's the thing. If you love The Exorcist, if you're going to be in New York and on Long Island, you have to go to the Museum of the Moving Image, because they have a lot of Dick Smith's original material there.
Really?
So they've got his life cast collection. They've got stuff from a bunch of different movies he's done, some of his tools and things like that. But they've got the life-sized Reagan from the movie that does the head spin.
Oh, hell no.
So
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I can't. I love horror movies, but it freaks me out. Like, it's
I bought one from Spirit like a while back. We had gotten one from Spirit Halloween. And it was like one of the ones that you put together, and I did like a whole unboxing video on it on TikTok, and people were just like commenting, going like, "How the hell do you have that in your house?" And the cool thing is with that, like when you would turn it on and Reagan's head would spin, the kazoo was illuminating in the background. So like I would have that in the window, and then people were just staring at it like, "What the hell is that?" And I'm like, "Dude, this is the best prop to have in your home."
No, thank you.
That's really great. Yeah, no. I would definitely recommend it. The other reason I would recommend it is that they've got
what's the name of it?
It's called the Museum of the Moving Image. It's in Queens. They also have.
I've been to that.
Henson.
I don't think I have.
They've got a standing exhibit from the Henson family that we actually helped them with we helped them sort through the donation and choose what they were taking. And then we did a whole series of restoration on a whole bunch of material with them and conservation work in preparation for it. But the setup they have for their whole Henson exhibit is
I see the photos.
Beautiful. It's so good. And, the Dick Smith stuff is great. The rest of the museum is a lot of fun. But that Henson exhibit is off the charts good.
Okay.
It's everything from like 1950s stuff that Jim did through Sesame Street, The Muppet Show, Labyrinth, Dark Crystal. They've got a full Skeksis. It's Jim Henson's, the one that Jim puppeteered.
Yeah.
Skeksis from the Dark Crystal is there from head to toe. We did conservation on it. It was one of the toughest things we ever worked on.
Wow.
And it's so amazing in person. You have to
I
see
saved it on my, because I made a list of like 10 places I want to check out in New York. So
11.
I saved it as one of them.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say.
It's one museum and then 9 places with really good pizza.
Yeah.
That's how you do New York.
I'm gonna go to, like, I've been to New York before, but like it was rushed. I was only there for like 3 days. This time around, I'm gonna be there for a week. So we're gonna be in different cities. So like I'm gonna be staying in Manhattan, but then we're driving up to White Plains. Then we're going to Carmel. Then we're going to go back to Manhattan. I'm going to do like the typical Gray's Papaya. I'm going to go to a Yankee game. Monday Night Football. I'm going to go see the Giants play. But I wanted to hit up like all different things.
Yeah, you're getting all the highlights for sure.
Yeah.
Well, maybe definitely hit up that museum. It's a lot of fun. And it's a rarity. It's this great little gem that I think not enough people know about. Anybody out there listening, if it's worth going. And they have some stuff from Stuart Freeborn. There's a Chewbacca head there that Stuart made for them in the early 90s. Okay. There's just some great stuff. There's stuff from makeup stuff from The Godfather. All kinds of Dick Smith stuff. It's really, really cool. It's a great.
I'll definitely let you know when I check it out and let you know how it was.
Yeah. Just real quick, going back, Jeff's in the house. What's up, Jeff's?
Jeff.
Did you see David Bordeaux's comment where he said that he wants to know where Tom's home address is because he wants to rob him?
Oh my goodness!
Stalker.
Because he's probably looking at his background, his display in the background.
Just get him the address and tell him which window has the busted lock. I mean, that just seems.
Who else? We got Jedi Chisel in the house. What's up, Jedi?
Chisel for sizzle.
Chisel for sizzle. We got Will C in the house. What's up, Will? Thank you for tuning in. Again, guys, really, if you can hit that little thumbs up button just to help our channel out, help support us, that will be much appreciated. We got the Traveling Jedi. We got Marcel in the house. What's up, Marcel? Thank you for tuning in.
What's up, Marcel?
Marcel.
And who else is here? And Sean says I had so much fun at Celebration. So just real quick, let's get back to talking Regal. Sure. Obviously you dropped the Grail yesterday.
Oh, you shouldn't drop it, but sure.
Yes, don't drop it.
Yes, please don't drop that.
I'm sure there is going to be someone that actually like tries to drink out of this cup.
We don't.
Oh my God, don't.
You definitely don't suggest it, right, Tom? You definitely don't suggest.
Click on that Grail and scroll to the specification section.
Oh my gosh!
You drink out of this cup.
Oh wait, the specification.
Scroll way down to the specs, and then look on the right side, down near the bottom of that. I put in one of those, like, just to make sure if anybody's watching, kind of thing.
For display only, not food safe, not dishwasher or microwave safe, not grant eternal life. Regardless if you cross the seal or not. That's awesome, Sean.
Now, Tom, when you scan these, it's right out of the archives, correct?
We actually do that work at the archives. Yes.
Okay. Now,
so
did they
go to Skywalker Ranch, and then in the case of the Grail, they have several of them there.
That was my next question.
Ahead of time, and then some after the fact. Sometimes we will. Over the course of a couple of trips, we'll do research on whichever ones they have available to us, and then we'll come back and then we'll go like, okay, but do you have one that looks like this?
Right.
And in the case of this Grail, there are different Grails. They are some of them are different shapes.
They're wide mouth,
different paint jobs. They're very identifiable once you start to figure out the specifics of them.
Right.
And we were able to identify the hero one that Harrison Ford uses in most of the shots in that movie.
Okay.
The probably the second best one that they show, or whatever the closest one they show, is the one when they go to pour the water onto Henry's belly where he's been shot. And the inside of that is very different. It's a totally different cup than the one Harrison Ford had the whole time, because that was a shot done probably months later as an insert.
Okay.
That's almost certainly not Sean Connery's chest that they're pouring water onto. It's a special effects shot. So
because I knew they have a wide mouth one, isn't like the top kind of flares out.
I mean, and that's there's some other differences, but there's kind of the wider mouth one, and then the style that the hero has. They're also asymmetrical though. So, the wide mouth one doesn't look as wide from certain angles, and the hero looks wider from certain angles than others. But it was really nice to be able to figure out like, oh, okay, this one's the hero, and to be able to go to the archives and give them the asset number to be able like, this one, we've managed to screen match it. Here are the images. This is, this is in this shot, this shot, this shot, this shot. And, just to be able to go through. So, of course, that's the one we wanted to make sure we were using as our primary reference for all of the work we were doing on this, and to make sure that we were coming up with something that.
So this one was used in the movie the most. So this one was in the on screen the most, this version.
Yes. Yeah, okay. Absolutely.
Traveling Jedi at Club Obi-Wan sign, please.
Yes,
that'd be cool. That'd be cool.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say. So, I mean, obviously, with this new IP, the license that you guys have, this is awesome. Especially if you're an Indiana Jones fan. The Urn of Nurhachi. So pretty.
I want Nurhachi.
Yeah,
it sold pretty quickly.
It surprised us. It's actually this is the benefit of being a small company, right? We put out Nurhachi. We had set an edition size, and the edition size on that is actually based on two factors. One, it was a guess based on the fact that the price point, that was about a $400 item, and how similar things that we had done, maquettes and such, had sold at that price point. And so we came up with a number of 100. The other factor, though, was that Nurhachi is a really difficult one to produce. It's a challenging paint job. It's a really challenging thing to cast in that translucent material.
Yeah.
You have a lot of flawed castings that come out and that you can't use. They're not really fixable the way an opaque piece is. So what we set that edition at the point where we were comfortable making that many. What we did not expect was that within 45 minutes that would sell out.
Yeah,
it's sold pretty damn
Yeah,
quickly.
I
missed it. Now I wish I would have gotten it.
It was, and the wait list on it very quickly became, almost as big as the number of people who got them. It was really, really startling to us. And, so like I said, the benefit of being a small company, when we now are doing the Grail Cup, which only went up yesterday.
I got on that one right away. It was like 12:02, and I was like in.
Nice. Yeah. Well, what's really funny, if you got in at 12:02, I would guess you got like number 79 or like 89 or something.
Man, see, I'm slacking, Tom. I'm slacking.
The number of orders that come in the first 30 seconds when we do these editions is insanity.
Wow.
And every time it surprises us. Even on something like the Urn, where it was like a 45-minute sellout, most of those were in the first 30 seconds.
Wow.
And then the rest of it was in like the first 10 minutes. And then it was just stragglers for about a half hour, and then it was done.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
But with the Grail, what we've done is we said, we're not going to set the edition size ahead of time. Let's give people a week to order, and then we'll set the edition size. So
that's a good idea.
June 27th, we're going to set the edition size. We're going to base that on how many orders we had, how many orders our retailers have, Sideshow, Big Bad Toy Store, Secret Compass, etc. And depending on how it's trending, if we're looking like the things have tapered off, and usually on these pieces, it's first minute, first hour, first day are your peaks, and everything beyond that is a real slide down. Last night we had a big jump when Adam Savage's video hit, but then today it was a little bit busy in the morning and then kind of steady. So we're going to see how that ebbs and flows the next few days. If on the day we're setting that edition size, if they're still selling strong, we might say, okay, let's set this for an extra 25 pieces or an extra 50 pieces and see what happens. Because the last thing we want is for people to want our stuff but not be able to get it. And even if we sell it for a week, it's still going to be a super small edition, and that's a very tight time frame in the grand scheme of all time. Like, if you could look back and say, like, I'm trying to think of a collectible from like the early days. Let's say one of the Don Post masks or something. Like, could you imagine going like, oh, I always wanted the Don Post Chewbacca mask, but they only sold it for a week. Like, that's a weird thing to say.
Yeah.
And I know our stuff is intended to be collectible and small run and all of that, but I think even at a week, we're still going to be so much smaller than something like a Hot Toys or a Sideshow or a Kotobukiya or any of these bigger companies, Gentle Giant, whatever.
Yeah.
That it's still going to be special. They're all going to be hand painted by our crew in New York, by hand. Everything's going to be hand packed, handcrafted, and you're going to still get that personal interaction with everybody in our shop and our customer service people who work so hard. I think no matter the edition size, this thing's still going to be special. And if you flash forward, let's say like the Rancor, which is now 4 or 5 years ago.
Wow.
Oh my God.
Man, time flies.
A week is nothing, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Holy
so
wow.
If we had put that Rancor up for a week, maybe we could have sold double them. Maybe it would have been an edition of 83. Maybe it would have been an edition of 150 or something like that. Would that change how special that edition is? Would that make a ton of them be on secondary market? Probably not.
I don't think so.
So that's the way we're trying to think about this. We're trying to think a little more long term, and really, ultimately, we want people to be happy, And it's, if people can't get our stuff and they're sad, that's bad for us and them. So let's hope that this works. So far it has. The sales have been really, really good, but nothing. It's not like we've sold 1,000 of them or anything like that. We're drastically going to change our edition sizes, but so far I think this is a good thing. We're definitely going to do it for our next indie piece. Already I can say this is the way to do it, because indie is new. It's tough for us to judge. Whether we do it on Star Wars pieces might depend on the piece. But we might do that as well if this works well. So we'll see.
Well, I was going to ask you. So obviously, looking, we go through the
People
website.
talking Rancor already.
Yeah.
I'm putting the Rancor in my will.
Yeah, I don't blame them. Thing's sick.
It is beautiful. Well, I was gonna say, you have a large wall decor. You got some concept, embossment
Concept
art.
We've got the magnets,
which is
chairs.
Yeah,
it's a nice mix.
Yeah.
The director chairs, we just did a Last Crusade, and then the newest magnet is the Grail tablet from Last Crusade. We figured let's make a little theme out of it here. You know.
Do you think you'll ever do
from the two styles? And if these sell well, then you can probably bet there'll be a Temple of Doom one in there someday. Maybe Temple of Doom gets like black and red or something fun. We've been trying to mix up the colors. That wall decor piece, that really pleasantly, this guy's great.
Oh, that looks amazing.
It's such a cool prop. And we did scan the real prop on this too. So even on this little magnet, you're dealing with some like.
So you're saying there's a chance to get the 1-to-1.
I would say that would be really fun to do.
Yeah.
I would say I would really enjoy doing that. If you go if you go back, so and here's the thing: we love wall decor, right? Like you go back to the if you back out to the indie section there, that dart face piece. Or this one. This is the little embossed art.
The wall decor. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So these, we're making these in the U.S. We're doing them by hand. They've got the real moss on them and layers of paint and all of that. They're very heavy. They're like 6 pounds of resin.
Oh, wow.
They're really big and chunky. I wasn't sure, the price on this had to be up there in order to make it work. And our thinking is, we always try and put everything out as cheap as we possibly can. Cheap is obviously a relative word when you're talking about a 300 plus piece like this. But we're just looking at it and going like, okay, maybe in some cases it's like, well, the, can the market bear it or whatever. In this case, it was like, this piece is so freaking cool. Like, we'll just price it what it has to be and we'll put it out. And luckily people responded to that. We sold way more of them than I expected, which is awesome. And we actually just shipped the first dozen out, and then there's more, in the works, and we'll just keep them going for the next few months. But wall mountable would be a great idea. Thank you, Traveling Jedi. That would be a wonderful way to do that, I think. But yeah, it's one of those things where everything we look at, it's just kind of like, well, what does it cost us to develop it? What does it cost to make the molds? How can we do this in as small a run as possible and just make it? It's like, hey, do we have a chance to do this? Yeah. If so, let's do it. There's not, a piece like that is just, it's too fun not to do.
Yeah, it's a great piece too.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was on the wrong screen and I hit back,
and then he was just gone.
I was gone.
He just backed out of the room.
I was like, PJ copied me.
I was like, I had enough. There's so many good things coming out.
And PJ to death. What have I done?
But I was gonna say, so will you be updating us?
My computer.
Will you be updating us with some of the products release dates pretty soon? I know you like to do that quite so often.
Yeah. It's funny. We've actually sort of hit. We've kind of hit the end of what we had planned out earlier this year. Mm-hmm. The rest of the year right now is a little bit fluid, and we're working our way through it, me and Rob at the shop, and coming up what the next releases are going to be. We have 2 magnets for Star Wars that we came up with that will probably be going out soon. We have some other indie projects in the works as well. We have some prop stuff. We have some wall decor. We have some other magnets. We have some miscellaneous desk accessory type stuff in the works. So we'll see how all of that goes. Star Wars right now, I mean, all of that's new since May the 4th. So like we have not been slouching on putting new stuff out.
Yeah.
So
I was gonna ask. I keep seeing I keep getting like little infomercials for Regal Robot on Instagram, and I saw that you guys kind of have Darth Vader's, I guess it's the chamber as a desk. Oh,
the desk. Yeah.
I've been contemplating if I'm trying to do the measurements to see if I can get that to fit in here.
So that was made as a one-off. We could do something similar again, but that was built for a woman who does tattooing, and she wanted that to be her tattoo station.
Oh, that's cool.
That's really cool.
That's cool. Yeah, Peach, if you can, if you go up to the shop section in the menu there and go to custom furniture and decor under the Star Wars section. So if you scroll way down on that page,
this
Darth
one, right?
Vader desk.
Yeah.
So that's the one she's talking about.
Yeah.
That's one of the ones people talk about the most. Anytime we put that on Instagram, it tends to go a little bonkers. So
yeah, I saw that 2 days ago, and I was like, that could fit in this room.
So the helmet's the light.
Yeah, that was.
That's cool. That's cool.
Yeah,
so this came out of me and Rich Riley. We have that. Like I said, this woman came to us. She just said she wanted a Star Wars themed tattoo station for her shop, and she does amazing Star Wars tattoos. And she had we threw a whole bunch of different ideas out. Basically, when we do stuff like this, people commission us to design it first before we, it's not just well, here's what I want to have. So, most times people come in and they're like, well, I want something like this. So we take a commission to do some design work. And so Rich and I put our heads together. Rich did a bunch of sketches, and this was a throwaway sketch. This was not anything she asked for. It was outside of the realm of a lot of the stuff that we were doing. And as soon as I saw it, I was like, well, that's clearly what we have to build.
Yeah, we got to make
and
that.
When we showed her, she agreed. And then what we kind of did was turned it into something, because there's 2 ways to approach this. There's the prop way, where you are trying to match the prop, facet for facet. And then this is more of the inspired by way, which was how do we break this down into its important elements and do it in a way that you can do it with millwork, in this case, using wood and laminate and things like that for proper furniture. How can we create this space that feels like that, but isn't necessarily a one-to-one prop replica?
Right.
And it's a lot of fun exploring that kind of stuff. And probably the most challenging part of this whole thing was setting it all up and photographing it and then figuring out how to ship it.
Yeah.
After
Because it has to
yeah.
break down to get through a regular door, which is not easy.
By the way, this is the couch that
Oh, that's so cool.
that was it. That
was
sold
rich.
me. That sold me. And I ended up buying a plaque that day too. So, oh, what a beautiful
And
thing!
thank you for that. Yeah, we had fun with that one. That was really, that we needed to make a splash. We needed to do something that was going to tell people what we were about. And to me, that was it.
Oh, it was beautiful.
We named him Dewey.
Yes,
Dewey.
and you know what? It was because I love dewbacks and rancors are always been my thing. So I saw that and I was like, I'm sold. Just going back to some of the things, you don't really have to tell us obviously what you're going to be releasing later on this year, but there'll be more magnets, more Star Wars furniture, wall decor coming up in the near future.
Yeah, so we have, let's just see here, more magnets. Possibly, people reacted pretty well to the new Rancor mini skull. So we might have more of those.
Gabe did such a great job with the review where on top of it, he put like almost like a glass
like a specimen jar. It was awesome.
Yes, which is awesome. And
we do have. We're about to start another run of those Chewbacca busts. Which is the bigger one down there. Yeah. We have, let's see here, the Mando Gaffy sticks are now in stock. Those are something that they just have to get hand packed, but they'll ship out in a week rather than a full time of production on them. Yeah, those are a lot of fun making those. There's a ton of work that goes into every one of them. We just wrapped up production on a handful of the life-size statues too, the head to toe. We did 5 of them.
Wow.
Wow.
It's really cool seeing 5 life-size Wookiees in the shop at the same time. By the way.
Yeah.
I would be like touching one of them to be like, wait a second, are you gonna move?
Yeah.
Do you feel like the majority of them were roaring, or were they just closed mouth?
Roughly 50-50.
Okay.
I would say it was out of the 5, I think it was 2 roaring and 2 closed mouth. 3 closed mouth. One of the closed mouth is actually, though, in a new pose, and he's getting a C-3PO on his back. We're doing that as a custom piece.
Oh
So
my gosh.
Really nice.
Give this to me now.
Wow. John's like, I want that C-3PO.
I know, right?
It's pretty cool to be able to do that. And he's, Giovanna in that chat is actually very small, but he's also gigantic.
Yeah.
You never really get the sense of just how big he is until you're working on it and you realize you need a step ladder just to put his head on.
Yeah, what a beautiful.
It's amazing.
It is amazing.
Thank you.
So,
the other thing I would say is before the end of the year, we will definitely have more maquettes. We have a couple of life-size bust type things in the works that, the exact timing of those are going to depend. A big important thing for me is, delivering on what we promised. So right now we're really focused on getting those Tusken Raiders done. And, people are going to be wrapping up those payment plans in the next 2 months. So we're putting this big push in so that when those plans wrap up, we can get a lot of them shipped out. And then once we know those are out of the way, then we can start looking at what maybe we do for the next big piece like that, the next, life-size bust or more prop replica-y, bigger thing like that.
Greedo.
Greedo would be awesome.
Oh yeah.
I want a Jar Jar maquette. Will you do one as a custom?
So one, yes, we certainly could. Custom is tough. So here's the thing that people don't realize, they might look at a maquette and say, well, if I want, this is a $400 piece. So if I want a custom one, maybe it's a little more than that. Unfortunately, it's many, many times more than that because of all the development that goes with it.
Yeah.
So as a maquette, it's like, I don't know if people want to pay, 5 figures or so or more maybe for one little Jar Jar maquette. That said, I would say this: we are at a point where, not we Regal Robot, but we as a Star Wars fandom are at a point where there is no reason Jar Jar needs to be a custom thing. I think you could do a short run or even a decent sized run of Jar Jar as a maquette in line with the rest of the lineup, and it would sell great and people would love it.
PJ,
And
you're speaking my language now.
And you know, we have been using our time. You know, it's funny. We don't, I mean, you know, we're not like at the archives every week or something like that. You know, we go down every few months and we are working our tails off. We're usually only there for a few days, but we will be examining and scanning, you know, dozens of pieces in that time, usually upwards of, you know, 40 or 50 pieces each trip. So we are trying to build the collection for the future here and to have plenty of stuff that we can draw from. So, you know, in addition to the original trilogy stuff, we have been looking and scanning and doing research on the prequel props, the prequel maquettes, rather. We have been looking beyond just the maquettes on the original trilogy and into things like the life-size busts and the masks and things like that. We have been looking at all sorts of stuff that we can, that might make a good product someday, to make sure that we can draw from that for a long time to come. My only thought would be, I don't want to push into the prequel maquettes until we've maybe gotten a bit further on the Return of the Jedi ones, because I still feel like we're building a collection there. And, you know, we've done a little aside here and there. We did the Gamorrean from Mando. We did now the Baby Yoda from Mando. You know, maybe the next time we do an aside, we could look at a prequel maquette, maybe a Jar Jar, maybe something else. But ultimately, I think the next few maquettes are probably going to be Return of the Jedi stuff from the production. Really, there's so many cool ones, and we've put so much time into researching all of them and identifying who sculpted everyone and things like that. So it's, you know, every one of these is a chance for us to do something really cool. Oh gosh, there went a man that everybody wants. Oh god, yeah, there they are.
Oh man,
there's a bunch.
I'd buy one instantly.
I'll buy one instantly.
Oh, damn it. I'll probably buy 2.
Facebook is the worst with that. If you back out of something, it always like, I don't know what's. It used to be you'd kind of at least wind up where you were. No, there's a lot of the artistry on the prequel maquettes are amazing. Like the sculpts are, and I think this happens a lot when you have sequel stuff, because when they're doing the originals, everything is done so fast and so cheap, and you know, it's catch as catch can, and they pull in everybody to make these maquettes. So there's a wonderful looseness and expressiveness and character to all of the Return of the Jedi maquettes. And then the prequel maquettes are super polished, you know, amazing sculptures, highly detailed. And it's really a contrast to how the ones from the original trilogy were done. And I think it's just, there's a reverence that you pay to Star Wars in 1990, you know, 1995, 1997, whenever they're doing this stuff, versus what you did in 1981. You know, by the time this comes around, you know, you're pulling A-game sculptor, you know, like high-end sculptors bringing their A-game for every single one of these, and they're not just going to rough something out and put it in front of George. They're going to put, you know, this is George freaking Lucas at this point. They're going to put, you know, the absolute, you know, best work they can. So a lot of these maquettes from the prequels, when you look at them up close, their skin textures are tight, the sculpts are tight, the details are insane. They're really neat to look at, but it is a world of difference. You know, you're only 20 feet away in the archives from where the maquettes for the prequels are and the OT. And it's so different when you look at them. It's really amazing.
I'm surprised they still did them traditionally and not digitally with all the prequel stuff.
This is late 90s. You know, digital sculpting was good, but it wasn't as easy as it is now.
Right.
You know, nowadays, I'm always surprised when they do practical maquettes. They've had Tony McVeigh do a handful of them too, which is great. Tony's, you know, as old school as it gets, and a brilliant sculptor. And he did a ton for the prequels as well.
Wow.
But but yeah, it back, nowadays you've got ZBrush and all these programs where you can, digitally push clay around, and it feels the same almost. It's like, if you know how to physically sculpt, moving stuff around in ZBrush is familiar. I'm not great at it, but I've moved stuff around in there and mashed things, and it like, I get it. I understand why people like Rick Baker took to it, and why, Tony Cipriano, who does a ton of stuff for us, who was a clay sculptor and now is a digital guy. I get it, because it's a similar feel, and you can achieve similar things. And I think that's why, nowadays it's a no-brainer to do it that way. But, back in the late 90s, boy, character sculpts were not the easiest thing to do on digital. So it doesn't surprise me they did them practically.
Yeah. Well, in terms of, I guess, you're going to finish out the maquettes, the Return of Jedi maquettes, and then, and quite a few things that you guys are working on, like the Tusken Raider bust and stuff. So maybe towards the end of the year, you guys would make some big announcements in terms of maybe a life-size bust, or maybe another life-size prop.
Summer, you can look for that kind of announcement. I think you'll also, we'll be still working on that indie line. It's not a really long-term program with Disney just yet. They're seeing how this goes. So our goal would be to get as much into people's hands as we can, and do with it while we got it. So I think you're looking at, there'll be definitely another wave of indie stuff. People have reacted great to everything we've done so far, and we have plans for a lot of things, whether those are, there's some more prop replicas, some more wall decor, some more magnets. There's a lot of fun to be had in that realm. We have on the Star Wars side, I would say probably in the next few weeks to maybe a month, you'll see some announcements for smaller stuff. Maybe the next wave of magnets, maybe the next wall decor stuff. By the end of the summer, I'd love to have some bigger announcements going. And maybe, even before that, we'll be talking about whatever the next maquette's going to be. But we're trying to give people a little bit of a breather, especially because now we've got Indiana Jones in the mix too. So it's like, usually we're thinking, okay, we want to give them a couple of months between each maquette so that people can kind of, feel at home with their wallet again. And now it's like, oh, well, we waited 3 months for a maquette, but then you look and it's like, oh, but in the meantime, we released, 2 Indiana Jones prop replicas, this wall decor, these magnets, 5 pieces here, 3 pieces there. So it's like, we're gonna, we're always mindful of that. And as anxious as we are to get stuff out there just to make it and just to see it, and as anxious as we know as our fans are to get it, we have people who are always begging us for certain maquettes and things like that. We're gonna work our way through there, but we're gonna do it in a way that hopefully, can allow as many people to come along for the ride with us as possible.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say is that, although Indiana Jones or Star Wars are kind of like almost in the same realm per se, they're kind of, I feel like they're two different customers. Like there's like the guy that had like that, is it his name's Alex?
Alex Arnold.
Yeah. So he's a dedicated Indiana Jones
indie,
collector.
Wars,
Yes, but I'm sure there are many people like him that just strictly collect indie. So, and the fact is that I think you guys are the only ones that are really like producing a lot of Indiana Jones collectibles. If you look in the internet, there's a bunch
out there, but I like to think we're doing something a little unique. Yeah, like that's, that's always the goal.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's Indiana Jones collectors that we don't know. They're usually kind of like, they're not really involved in social media. Now they're coming across like, oh my gosh, Regal Robot, they're producing Indiana Jones products, like replicas. Like what is this? That has lineage? Oh wow. Yeah. Now that's why I wasn't surprised how popular like the products that you put out were and how fast they sold. That's why it's awesome to see that a company like yours doing something unique and awesome as Indiana Jones. So
thank you. I think there's a good amount of crossover just based on the faces that we're seeing, the emails and the people who are buying our stuff. I'm not surprised that there's a lot of crossover, but you're absolutely right that there is a whole subset that are dedicated indie people. And I think those are the people that we've got to, maybe reach out to a bit more too. And that's kind of, it was nice with, Adam did his video, Alex did a video, Gabe at Star Wars Replicas did a video with the Grail Cup. And I think those are great because, like you said, people who are dedicated indie people might not know us. They might not be aware of us because of the stuff we're doing here, or in spite of the stuff we're doing here. And that's another reason that doing a little bit of setting the edition size later helps us, because it gives people a little time to find us.
All right. Well, I was gonna say I'm a big Indiana Jones fan, but Sean, I know, is like right now he's adding a lot of like.
I'm full indie mode now.
Yeah, he's full indie mode.
I'm so upset
while it's out there, right? Like, it's not going to be around forever.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I'm dedicated Star Wars at home, but I've got a new job, so I'm, my new office is going to be like a lot of Indiana Jones. Perfect. And then right when I found out I was hired and I was gonna, take that office over, and then I'm like, I just missed the Urn of Nohachi, and I was like, dang it! I was like, I wish it was a little bit. If that was extended a week, I would have gotten it. Yeah, because it was just the timing, Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say, Sean. With that being said, and this is hypothetical, Tom, what would you like Tom to produce as the next, I guess, maquette or life size prop?
Oh, one to one prop. The Staff of Ra. Oh. You need the Staff of Ra. I know there's two different ones.
I was just kidding. Which version though?
Yeah.
I'm partial to the Marion's medallion version.
Right. So it's with the chain.
Yeah, well, even just the headpiece is cooler.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just because you don't see it as much, but that's the one that's in all the close-ups with Harrison when he's actually got the thing, and
right,
and the lights going through it. Like, that's that one.
It's the one that has really more details
the other
on
one
it.
When the Imam has it and he's talking about the markings.
Right. Yeah. Now the one that he had, or the one that Marion had, is that the one that had more details in it? It was a little more pronounced.
A little bit. Yeah, it's just different detail. It's interesting. The Imam version versus the medallion version, I guess you would call them.
Mm-hmm.
The Imam one is the one that's been photographed more. That turns up in the from Star Wars to Indiana Jones Best Lucasfilm Archives book. So I think everyone knows that one better. But the medallion version, to me, is there's just something about that design I like better. It's not necessarily more detailed. It's different, and it's like the proportions are a little different. And I find that one real cool. I find that.
Yeah. That would be nice to actually have a very accurate one. Would be really nice, because I know there's a few out there. I think Disney's got one they released this year or something.
Yeah, theirs is pretty good. It's its own sculpt. Yeah, I mean, that's one of the real props right there, right? That's from the old prop store auction, I think. But yeah, that's the medallion version, and there's definitely, it's funny. It's when you start looking at it, it's surprisingly different,
right?
To the other one, which. At first, if you just put them on two different pages and you look at one and then later you look at the other, you'd be like, oh, it's the same thing. But when you really put them side by side, it's like, oh wow, okay, this is very different. But it's cool. I love that piece.
Yeah, that would be a nice piece, Tom.
Well, yeah. How about you, Nilda? How about you, Nilda? Anything that you would like, hypothetically speaking, that you would want?
Sean called it out earlier. I would love a maquette of Greedo.
Yeah.
Oh, I want the bust. I want a life-size bust of Greedo.
Or Indiana Jones. What would you?
Oh, like? Indiana Jones.
Listen, Greedo could have been Indiana Jones. You don't know.
Yeah, they dug him up. Oh, it could have been a crystal skull. He's the alien.
Oh, that would be really cool.
Yeah, he's the alien.
Yeah,
oh my God.
Just the alien with the glowing eyes. No, Traveling Jedi said it earlier. I would love to have a Obi-Wan Club Obi-Wan sign.
Nice. Yeah, that's a fun one. That's a fun one. It's funny with all this stuff. We have a lot of people who suggest stuff to us, whether it's the maquettes, the busts, indie stuff, whatever. And it's always like, it's rare that someone says something like, I mean, no matter how deep a cut it is, it's rare that someone says something where we go, oh yeah, write that down. That's not on our list.
You've heard this before.
I'm sure, yeah. How the golden fertility idol.
Pages.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, Peach, you didn't get to say what you would want to see. So
golden fertility idol.
Yeah. Would it be would you want the one with the real eyes?
Real eyes.
Yeah. That's the cool one for me too. I like that.
Yeah, I just got the sideshow one.
Wink
just
3 times if that's good.
Yeah.
I'm kidding, Sean. Kidding, Tom. Kidding, Tom. You don't have to do it. He's winking. Guys, he's winking 3 times. There you saw.
I'm blinking SOS so someone can save me from this podcast.
Yeah.
Like some sort of hostage.
Yeah. No, but it's great though.
They're treating me great, guys. It's okay. Help. Everything's great. Call the police.
Did you see the video they played in the beginning? They're crazy.
This now.
They're killing children.
I'm okay, but they want me to make the fertility.
They want me to make babies.
They won't let me leave until I make Indiana Jones props. These people are monsters.
What? But you know what? You graze the surface only now, Tom. There's so much more you could do.
And that's really the challenge with all of this. And again, it's like, how do we, like, even with the maquettes or with the life-size bust, like, you know, there's our list of things that we want to do for Star Wars is so long. And it really is down to, like, you know, we can't make it too fast because, you know, it's like that's going to trip up the train if you're not careful. And you know, we're growing. No doubt we have, you know, our customer base is bigger every month, and that's fantastic.
Great. That's great.
And it allows us, you know, I think that allows us to maybe make the edition size a little bigger. It maybe allows us to do a little more product that maybe, you know, you don't have to get everything because there's enough stuff out there. But like, I do want to be careful that we're not overproducing or growing too fast. You know, that's a thing that we're always super cautious about. You know, it's like, we've got to do this in a managed way. We got to do this in a way that we could still deliver to the level that we want to, that we still produce to the level we want to, and to make sure that when people are getting our stuff and they're opening up that box, they get that feeling like they're in the archives and they're holding the real thing.
And Tom, that actually, you know, as a collector, that means a lot. And you know, Sean, Nilden and I talked about this in previous live streams. That there's been quite a few companies now that are just kind of like more about the quantity rather than the quality. And the fact that is, you know, for a fact that you're growing and you're growing exponentially, but the fact that you're trying to still do the best you can to give us the quality that we're asking for and we're looking for as collectors means a lot, because it can't go hand in hand. You can't produce super quality products and super quality. There's always something that suffers.
Not immediately.
Not immediately,
right?
Yes.
There are plenty of companies that got big enough that can do both. And you know, and even if you just think of like luxury car companies and stuff like that, right? There is a way to get there with this stuff. But what we're doing is art at the end of the day. Yeah. And that requires artists, that requires hands, that requires a hands-on sort of look to it. It requires an extreme attention to detail when it comes time to, you know, developing the masters and all the prep work, and also the QC at the end. So yeah, you know, we're just mindful of it. And if that means that we're, you know, we get to grow, but maybe it's slower than we would if we just dumped a bunch of product out money-wise, that's okay. You know, I'd rather get by and do great stuff and continue to grow than dump everything out, make a whole bunch of money in a real short time frame, and then fizzle out. So you know, that's not going to happen here, and we're very, very much. It's very much on purpose that that's not going to happen.
Yeah, and that's just business 101 too, you know, and that's the thing too, is that why I love your company, and I said it multiple times in some of my videos and live streams, is that who's the best QC manager but the man himself, Tom? You know, the fact that he's looking at your product and go, okay, this one's good, this one's good, this one, okay, you can ship.
Very often, I will say this: Max at the shop has a really keen eye for that stuff, and it's one of the reasons he's our shop supervisor in the back for making sure everything is done right. And Katie and Christine up in the front are also, another pair of eyes before anything goes out. Before any Baby Yoda goes in the box, they look at it. If they see something they don't like, then it comes into the office and it's like, Rob, is this passable? Tom, is this okay? And sometimes it'll be something where, it's like, no, that's supposed to be that way, because it's like some flaw that's in the original or in the casting or something that's on purpose. But, there's plenty of times where they catch something where there's a stray brush mark, or there was a brush hair on something, or, something that just got through, because again, this is a hand process. That's how stuff goes. And, then if that happens, it just goes back to the back, they fix it, and immediately goes back, goes out. We have multiple layers of that, thankfully, and everybody's really focused on it and does a good job of it. So you can give me all the credit if you want, but I'll just
you have a team. Yes. Yeah. And that's the thing too, is that sometimes when there's a lot of like mass produced products, there's also, the QC is not as great as other companies. So if you're, and
it's
things get missed. Yeah, it's harder. It's hard to keep
and those
up with.
Things also, if they're made at a factory, they wind up in a packaged box, in a cardboard packer box, a case pack, and then in a crate or a shipping container, and then it gets shipped over here. You can't QC every piece when they're already in 3 layers of cardboard and in a shipping container. So you do your best at the factory, and you probably are doing sample testing. Whereas with us, we're literally looking at every piece before it goes out. And there's always a chance something gets out that has a stray paint mark on it, or something gets out that, maybe is slightly imperfect. And in those cases, we always make good as soon as we can. If somebody ever gets something they're not happy with, just send us an email. We figure it out. That's,
Well,
like
Tom,
I said, one of the benefits of being a small company.
Tom, my Chewie's not tall enough. Like, what can we do about that?
Well, sorry, you're stuck with it. Just send an email. Someone will help you out.
I got you. Hey, well, worth a shot.
Yeah. Well, and now in terms of Indiana Jones, I know we talked about Star Wars. You're going to make a huge announcement right before summer ends. Hopefully,
thank you. Yeah, no pressure.
Life-size bus.
No pressure. Make sure it's a very big announcement.
Jar Jar Binks maquette. I don't know. It's one of those things. Indiana Jones. When would when can we expect the next?
Let's see here. We have 2 more magnets that we've actually not only developed but actually done some production on. In basically wherever we find time, we try to squeeze little production runs through in the studio these days. We have some other wall decor in mind. I have to think, we've just put out, what did we do? We did our first wave in April. I think it was April 20th. And then we just did our second wave about 2 months later. So maybe that's 2 months from now. That maybe a third wave will come out.
Okay. Awesome.
Maybe a little sooner, and we just do some small stuff, and then maybe the big one is 2 months. I don't know. Yeah. That stuff we're going to figure out. This is what happens. You develop a plan, you put it on the board, and then almost immediately you tear it all down, redo it, move things around, and then really ultimately what ends up happening is what was a year plan gets chiseled away enough that it becomes about a 6-month plan. At least this is the way it tends to work for us. Because we're not just reacting to what do we want to make, we're reacting to what are people buying, what can people absorb, what is getting people excited. And, because it's like a huge part of it is we want to make things that we just want, and I'm not going to lie, but I don't want to be selfish to the point where our fans are upset because I want to make some of the kit that literally no one wants but me. But so we're literally at the tail end of what we kind of had mapped out, and this is now our chance to sit down and regroup and rethink what the next 6 months looks like. And this happens literally every year. We plan out ahead, we chop it apart, we get rid of half of it, and we say, let's just look fresh. And so it was like, okay, let's get ourselves through May the 4th, 9 and Indie Wave 2, and then let's see where things are.
Sit down.
You know, can people absorb more? Do we have to give them a break? Do we have to give ourselves a break? Which is really important.
Which is important. Yes, absolutely.
You know, do we need some breathing room to produce some stuff? And if so, well, then let's maybe put out a few of the smaller things that we've got planned, and let's sprinkle things out and maybe not have as big a release, or let's hold those back and we'll do a bigger release a little while from now. This is all stuff that Rob and I are going to figure out soon. We're going to do a live video on, I think Monday we were talking about doing a live video. So if anybody follows our Facebook page, keep an eye out for that. If you have questions about this stuff, you can hit us up then too. And but yeah, in the next few weeks, this is our planning phase, and so we'll be coming up with some neat stuff.
Is there a time frame for the Grail to be shipped?
In terms of when they're going out, that should be on the product page. I believe we say Q3 2023 will be when they start to ship.
Okay.
They are in production already. We have molds made for the first couple of molds. We'll probably be making another 2, 4, 6, probably another 4 or 6 or 8 molds, maybe more than that, depending on how many we sell. And those will be in mold and cast for the next couple of months. And we'll probably start painting them in waves and shipping them out. I would guess by September, you'll see the first waves of those going out, if not a little sooner. It's going to also depend a little bit on how we do with Tusken Raiders and Nurhachi and Yak Face and Nine Numb, which are all going as well. But doing the maquettes, we tend to paint those with 3 or 4 people at a time. So, you know, we can have other things happening in the studio. You could have 2 or 3 people working on Grail Cups while 2 or 3 people are working on one of the maquettes, while 2 other people are working on another maquette. Or you can have something in mold and cast while another thing's in finish and paint, and then, you know, those kind of flip-flop as you keep going. So, yeah, my guess would be around September, the first waves will start going out of that, if not earlier.
Okay. All I know is I'm excited for my maquette. So excited.
Like all of this stuff, you know, they're going to go out in waves. This is not, you know, there are these big companies who, you know, they tell you something's going to ship in Q4, and, you know, maybe that gets delayed or whatever. But when they do ship, it's, you know, they've just gotten 10,000 of them from overseas, and they're now going to ship all 10,000 at once. When we're doing this stuff, generally, you know, on the maquettes, we do waves of about 12 to 20 pieces at a time. And when we're doing the things like the Grail Cups and Nurhachi, it'll probably be similar. So, you know, when I say start shipping in Q3, that means, you know, maybe once a week we'll do a shipment of 20 of these things for a while until they're all out. You know, maybe they get a little ahead of that. Depends on every piece is a little different, but, you know, that's the way we do this stuff. It's always in waves. It's always in batches. The Tusken Raiders, we're doing a particularly large batch right now of 50 pieces, but you'll probably see those ship about 12 at a time, just because our shipping and receiving space isn't huge, and it actually does take a fair amount of time and space to pack up something like that. You know, we have custom sliced foam done, you know, all die cut, and usually it's in layers. And you know, even just the room to make 10 boxes that big, because these are, you know, you're talking huge boxes these things go in, and then hand wrapping each piece, everything gets bubble wrapped, everything has to find its place, sorting out the plaques, making sure everybody gets the right number, getting all the COAs and instructions, all that stuff in there. It takes time. You know, I think I was saying this on another show, but you know, I think people would be surprised how much time Katie and Christine and Ross spend packing up things. When we were doing the Gaffy sticks, you know, those are shipping about 9 a day for a while, and they were putting in. It was 3 or 4 people putting in really hard days packing those up, and some of that is because, you know, in addition to packing them, they're doing QC checks. They're making sure every one of them that the end screws in cleanly and everything fits right, so that we're not just sending it out and hoping that everything aligns perfectly on every one of them. We're double checking all of that stuff. But it's a hand process, and it just takes time. So, this is part of the reason that our things cost what they do. It's part of the care that we put into it. It's literally a hand done thing from the start to finish. And that's, I think, something that maybe people don't consider when they're getting it. We're so used to getting things in these very machined packages with custom blow molded inserts or vac form or custom foam that maybe was cheap overseas because they did 5,000 pieces, and over here it might be something where you're spending $100 on packing materials on something.
Yeah.
And it's amazing when you do it. You're just like, how is that possible? But and then just all that time that people put into it. So yeah, you're getting the development time from Rob and myself and the people who are preparing all of this stuff. You're getting all the care and time that goes into producing this stuff, and then all the care and time that goes into wrapping it all up and making sure it gets to your home and following up to make sure you got it and all of that stuff. So yeah, the whole team, man, hats off. The work they do is it's a lot.
Yeah, well, from all of us in Sithcast Council, we really appreciate all the hard work you put into making great quality products.
Absolutely.
And us.
I declare bankruptcy.
So basically, us declaring bankruptcy. The things that you produce.
We're trying to avoid that.
It's okay. We're collectors. We're always going to declare bankruptcy.
We're addicts.
We're addicts.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's for sure. Yeah, same.
Yeah.
But no, seriously, it's great to hear a company that focuses on quality. Rarely nowadays, not only with just collecting, but other companies as well, they focus on the quantity, and to hear something that like that is just meaningful to all of us. And we're very excited, obviously, for all the what future Real has to, all the future stuff that Real has to offer to us. And it's great to see you from, was it 2016 Orlando to all the way up to now, 2023.
Thank you.
How many years? 7 years? 6 years? I can't do the math. Yeah. So
2017 till now, 6 years.
Yeah, 6 years. So
a little past 6 years, because that was April.
Yeah. So
and for us, I mean, it's quite a journey.
Yeah.
Regal started up technically about a year before that, behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And that was the longest year ever because we had to keep it all secret.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, no, it's been an amazing trip. There's so much more ahead. There's so much more we're working on. And I just can't wait to share it with everybody.
Yeah. And it just seems like there's an endless, it's like, I'm sure you get a lot. You probably have the next 10 years planned out with all the products that you could put out.
I mean,
not
not specifically the years, but we have enough stuff planned that could easily be 10 years of collectibles.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
yeah. Because
I hope we get to do that.
I'm sure you
never
can.
know. With licensing, there's always a question, but we're committed to it. We are every chance we can to re-up this license and keep at it. We are going to be there, and I hope we get to make everything that we have in mind someday. There's so much we want to do. Star Wars is there's so much inspiration there in the background, and there's so much stuff that maybe maybe your bigger vendors, your bigger retailers or whatever, or licensees might avoid, because they need to make a run of 5,000 to make sense, or 1,000 or whatever overseas, because that's how their production works. And we have the luxury of being able to say, well, if 150 people want this, then we can still make it. And maybe we have to price it higher because of that.
Right.
But that works. And I would rather find 150 weirdos that want a naked 9mm than maybe 5,000 people that want a really cheap stormtrooper.
Well, exactly. And you know what?
For us, it's like, this is the stuff we absolutely love, and I feel lucky we get to do it.
Yes.
That's awesome.
And we are very lucky to have a company like you, to provide us all this awesome products. And thank you, Tom. Seriously.
Absolutely.
Honestly, we could go on forever.
Tom.
Yeah.
Yes, Tom. Thanks.
But at some point, I'm going to have to go into the shop because it's 9 a.m. the next morning.
I know.
And,
Yes. So again, maybe before or after you come up with all the newer announcements, maybe we could have you back on the show to.
my pleasure. Yeah, it'd be great.
Yeah, keep
Thank
us.
you.
It's
Thanks
always
for that.
always a pleasure having you on the show.
Absolutely. Great chatting with all of you. Sorry I put two of you to sleep at those points.
No,
I'm still hanging in here, Tom.
That's how.
Yeah. No,
Truly
Tom,
you got me.
Tom. And it's funny because I'm like, always before the show, I'm like, all right, Sean, we're gonna keep it to this amount of time, but it's never the case. But that's a good thing because you know why? We're having fun.
Yeah,
I blame it on the I blame it on medication.
But all right, thank you, Tom. We'll have you back on the show to give us more updates from Regal Robot. Sean,
Sounds
Nilda,
great.
another one in the books. Later, guys. May the midichlorians be with you guys always and forever. Take care.
Bye, everybody.
Strike me down with all of your hatred, and your journey towards the dark side will be complete.